And so when I say And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China!
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China!
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China!
Russian.
Russia!
Italian.
Italy!
German.
Germany!
Swedish.
Sweden!
Korean.
Korea!
Egyptian.
Egypt!
Nigerian.
Nigeria!
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. 'Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And, you know,
From the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. Think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
נחשף ביערות בורקינה פאסו שבט קניבלים נטו נטו. שלום למנהיג השבט קזבובו.
שלום עליכם. אברהם יצחק יעקב. יודע עברית, שולחן, חשבונית, קובי פרץ, מוטלזי, מוטאו.
מר קזבובו, כולנו כאן בישראל מופתעים ונרגשים נוכח האפשרות שתעלו ארצה.
קזבובו שמח. 2000 שנות גלות נגמר. רואים אור בקצה של מנהרה.
אתם בטוחים שאתם יהודים?
התחלנו על חנן. אם הוא שחור הוא לא יהודי?
לא בגלל שהוא שחור, הוא...
מה הוא מה?
קניבל.
ומי אתה שתגיד לו מה לאכול, אה? אם הוא קניבל, הוא לא יהודי?
אולי תבוא, תעשה אצלנו שבת?
זה לא שיש לי משהו אישי נגדכם, אבל הפלשמורה למשל תקועים...
להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית, אני גאה בלהיות גזענית. אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
עם פוצ'י לנסוע! את תשועה עם פוצ'י! לכי את והוא! תלכי מפה! תלכי! את תשועה עם פוצ'י, לכי! לא מתביישת!
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East. You know, and then since this is the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
We're finishing now part 2, chapter 2. And what we've said so far is that people have free will and their actions are, some are good and some are evil. And by the way, the Rambam writes explicitly that everyone has some good actions and some bad actions. Everyone. Everyone. And he takes it for granted that there'll be a variety. And we talked about the fact that this world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
And you know what else, Jim? I just want to say this to our Christian friends.
Hi, Shalom, Shalom from Israel. This is Ola, the daughter of Jethro. And I just heard that you black people that was stolen from Africa to America, that you don't know who you are. But you are the children of Yahweh, the children of Israel. And I'm telling you, you have to come back to your homeland, here to Zion, to Jerusalem, because us the Gentiles, we do need you. We need you to come and pray because you are our saviors. You're the one that was chosen by Yahweh to live in this land, not the Jewish people, it's you. You were stolen from Africa, they deceived you, they told you that you are slaves, but you actually the children of Israel. And it's time just to come back. Come for your people, come back for us, come back for the whole Gentiles, because only you.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone and pray that all is well with you guys. Having some issues with StreamYard, as you can see, the pauses, the delays with the videos playing like they should. So using a different browser, go figure. So I'm gonna have to look into another tool to do streaming with, because I'm noticing some questionable things that are happening with this tool. But I want to say peace and blessings with to you guys. I hope and pray that you guys had a blessed day. I pray that you had a blessed week. And so with that being said, tonight what we're going to deal with is the bisexual Messiah. That's our topic for tonight. We're going to deal with Valentine's Day. And I'm going to prove to you that Valentine's Day is the promotion of a bisexual Messiah. Now, I know some of you guys probably asking the question of why do I have TD Jakes? Why do I have P. Diddy on the thumbnail? And why did I name it or title this the bisexual Messiah? Well, I just gave you the answer. I'm going to prove that to you as we progress in this lesson. But I want to call out, the so-called Christian gatekeepers. I want to call them out, like the Nick Jones and those guys, because they're hypocrites. And I'm going to tell you why. Right? I saw Nick Jones. I saw a number of content creators, Christian content creators, right? Going in on TD Jakes, going in on Puff Daddy, going in. But I don't see any of them going in on Valentine's Day. Major contradiction. We all know the things that are going back and forth about TD Jakes, and I'm not entertaining that here tonight. I don't get caught up in all that stuff. The Puff Daddy and the bisexual and all that other stuff. You guys know more about it than I do. But the reason why I'm calling out these hypocrites is because you won't see them do anything on Valentine's Day. You won't see them do anything on St. Patrick's Day. You won't see them do anything on Christmas, Easter, all these man-made pagan holidays that have sex connected to it, perversions connected to it, bisexuality, hermaphrodites, transvestism, all these different things associated with them. But they quick to call out something, that they want to, be very selective and try to call things out of what they say is blasphemy. These guys are quick to call out all those things. So I want to really use this as an opportunity with all these different man-made holidays that are coming up. I want to use this as an opportunity to really give you guys clarity on what Valentine's Day is. Go figure, right? This is supposed to be Black History Month, but in the midst of Black History Month of being the shortest month of the year, you also have Valentine's Day celebrations, and I believe President's Day or whatever. You got all these different celebrations all within the shortest month, right? So we're going to deal with that tonight, as far as the bisexual Messiah. And I'll say it again, anything but the Negro. We tend to, these so-called Christian gatekeepers that are pushing a religious system. I can guarantee you they're going to buy Valentine's Day gifts for their loved ones. I know they're going to buy Valentine's Day gifts for their wives, their girlfriend, whomever. The same ones that was quick to talk about TD Jakes, the same ones that will talk about all these different people, but they're celebrating a bisexual holiday. That's right. And celebrating the bisexual Messiah. That's right. I'm going to prove this to you guys for those that are watching for the first time. In the midst of doing the stuff that I've been teaching about Judaism and all that, I still like to keep some foundational teaching going. I'm just not all about pushing that type of information, but I want to teach this truth, and I want to make sure that we understand how to be true defenders of our Dabar HaKwadash. So let's go to get into it, family. I don't want to prolong the time, prolong the hour, but let's go and get into it. Let's go ahead and unpack this thing here. The bisexual Messiah. Let me say that again. The bisexual Messiah. And I want to say shout outs before we get started to the Negro Experience, right? I want to say shout outs to the Negro Experience and family. The Negro Experience. I want y'all to pay attention to the icon that's there, the picture that's there. I want you guys to pay attention to it because it says, be my Valentine. And just so happened, I got some things I'm going to share with you guys in that regards. So thank you for the love and support. Praise Yah for your steadfast boldness and presentation of the truth. So family, I encourage you guys, share this video, share it, get this word out. But I thank the Negro Experience for the love and support, and even in your thumbnail, even in your photo, right? Most people are not going to understand. Many of our brothers and sisters that are going to still celebrate Valentine's Day, they're not going to understand that photo that you have there, that Valentine's Day card there, further validating that not a single Negro should be celebrating Valentine's Day. But we'll touch on it when we get to that. But appreciate you, the Negro Experience family. Show the Negro Experience some love for the love and support that he and the contributions that he shared tonight. All right, family. So let's go ahead and get into it. The bisexual Messiah, taste the rainbow. All right. The bisexual Messiah, taste the rainbow. Let's go ahead and get into it. I want to start off by going to the 81st book of Psalms, and we're going to start at verse 8. All right. It reads, hear, and the word that you see in Hebrew is Shammai or Shammai. Hear, right, which means listen with intelligence. It means discernment or discern, right? It means obedience. So hear, O my people, I will testify unto thee, O Israel, if thou shalt hearken Shammai or Shammai unto me, there shall no strange God or Allah, that's the actual ancient Hebrew word you'll see there, not El, to be Allah, right? No strange Zar or Zara, God, Allah, be in thee, neither shalt thou worship Shathaka, any strange Nakar Allah. Let me read it again. There shall no strange Allah be in thee, neither shalt thou worship Shathaka, any strange Nakar Allah, or transliterates to the word God. Now, the question is, these hypocrites, not just with Nick Jones and all these Christian content creators, but pastors and, elders and ministry, all kinds of ministries that are going to be promoting and celebrating Valentine's Day, that's going to promote all these things within the church. They're going to have these not Christmas, but Valentine's Day baskets. They're going to have all of this. They're going to have the heart all up in the church. They're going to have altars, basically, movable floats for these idols, these deities that the Most High said not to have. It says here, neither shalt thou worship any strange Allah or deities or God. I'll say it again. There shall no strange Allah or God be in thee, neither shalt thou worship any strange God. But it didn't stop there. I am Yahweh Elohim. Some of you guys would say Yahuwah Elohim, and others would say Yahweh Elohim. The ancient pronunciation is Yahweh Elohim. And hey, it's not a deal breaker for me, but I'm just giving clarity here. I am Yahweh Elohim, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, payah or pi. Open thy mouth wide, rakab, and I will fill it. Verse 11, but my people would not hearken to my voice. Quawal, and Israel would none of me. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, lab or labab, and they walked in their own counsels, similar to what Apostle Paul highlighted in Romans chapter 1. Became so wise, they became fools, stuck on themselves. How the Most High turned Israel over to a reprobate mind. In other words, turned them over to themselves, gave them 100% themselves uncut. So we see here in Psalms, it tells us that Israel, they were told not to worship these deities. Don't even have this stuff among them. But they would not listen. No matter how many judgments that have come, no matter how many captivities they had to go through, Israel would not hearken. Israel would not listen. So the Most High turned them over to that reprobate mind, and basically turned them over to themselves, removed his spirit from them. So I gave them up to their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsel. So let's go to Jeremiah 10, starting at verse 1. And this is coming from the Tanakh, right? It says this: hear the word, there we have it again, Shama'ai Dabar. Hear the word, Shama'ai Dabar, right? And we'll also understand again, this word means Shammai or Shama'ai means listen with intelligence. It means discern, as also transliterates to hearken, right? Hear the word, right? Dabar also means command, charge, right? So, which Yahweh has spoken to you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, do not learn to go the way of the nations, and do not be dismayed by portents in the sky. Let the nations be dismayed by them. But it goes on to say, for the laws of the nations are delusions. See, I like how this translation reads because it's really straightforward. It hits pretty hard. It says again, the family, make a note of this. When people want to come at you about not wanting to honor and celebrate these pagan holidays that they have tried to put the Most High's reputation on top of, hey, go to this translation. Right? Go to this translation. For the laws of the nations, not Gentiles, because Gentiles is, that's a word of confusion. Gentiles simply means nations. It comes from the ancient Hebrew word when you see Gawayam, or in the Israeli Goyim, right? That transliterates to the word nations, and Gentiles simply means nations, right? You have Hellenes, in the Greek, also ethnos in the Greek, that transliterates to the word Gentile, but it simply means other nations. But anyway, or nations rather. So for the laws of the nations, this is dealing with the other nations, are delusions, for it is the work of a craftsman's hand. He cut down a tree in the forest with an axe. He adorns it with silver and gold. He fastens it with nails and hammer so that it does not totter. Now, you guys know what they're describing here, but you'll have some pastors that are trying to straddle the fence and say, well, they're not actually, putting up a Christmas tree, but they're actually making carvings. And come on, stop it. Tree worship is tree worship. And when you study the ancient Babylonians, when you study the ancient Assyrians, when you study the ancient Egyptians, they had tree worship. They were using pine trees and they were also using palm trees. But many are try to, bend and twist. That's where you're getting into the word iniquity, to bend and twist, to transgress the law, statutes, and commandments, to try to make it what they want to make it out to be, so that way they can justify what they don't want to let go. So you guys know what this is here. So the laws of the nations are delusions. They're delusions. Tree worship is tree worship, right? So I want to make sure that we're clear on that. I'm going somewhere with this. So let's go to deal with Apostle Paul's stern warning, because this all laying out the foundation of this lesson. Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 4, starting at verse 1. Notice what it says here. I charge thee therefore before Yahweh and Adonai Yahweh Shai Mashayak. In other words, that transliterates to Lord Jesus Christ. Right. So again, I charge thee therefore, and of course, yours going to say different, right? Yours going to say before God and the Lord Jesus Christ. Well, here I made sure you see the Father's name. His name is not God. His name is Yahweh. Yahweh Abaya. That's his name, and he's Father, not God. God is a Norse Germanic word. And unfortunately, we are addicted to that word. Many will choose to say God versus saying Yah. So his name is, if you don't even agree with the fullness, the length, the full length of his name, and you rather just use the contracted version of his name, Yah, which is the short form, use Yah. It's the same syllable. Actually, that is accurate. That is actually ancient Hebrew. No matter how you slice and dice, we all can agree on that. That is short form of his name is Yah, not God. His name is not God, right? His name is not God. So you see here, to make a distinction here, you see here, I charge thee therefore before Yahweh and, right, Adonai Yahweh Shai Ma Shayak. In other words, Lord Jesus Christ. So unfortunately, the translators made it a point to keep it generic when it comes to the Father's name, right? Transliterated name. They could have just put Father there, something, but they made sure you're able to distinguish the transliterations of the transliterations, his son's name. But anyway, it says, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Verse 2, preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. Verse 3, this is the key. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. Are we not living in the day and time right now that many are not enduring sound doctrine, getting tossed to and fro? All right. Now, let me say this, for those that are dealing with the U sounds and all that stuff, I want to make it clear. In ancient Hebrew, there was no O sounds. There was no U sounds. The U sound comes from the O sound. Let me play this quick clip while we're here, and then we'll get back to it. We'll just do a quick commercial break. Let me let you hear this professor teaching ancient Hebrew, teaching Hebrew, right? And I want you to hear what he said about the O sound, because the U sound comes from the O sound. So let me play it real quick.
Here's a chart that summarizes vowel class and length. And you can see across the top the three classes, A, E, and U. And then down the side the four lengths, long, medium, short, and very short. So let's just go over this chart. We'll start with the A class vowels. The long vowel is cholam vav, and you'll recall that this says O as in snow. Now you might wonder why an O vowel is in the ah class, and this is because of historical considerations. Originally there was no O sound in Hebrew. Everything.
Hey, so we'll stop right there. I'm not going to get sidetracked, but I want to make sure you guys understand. All right. I want to make sure you guys understand that. But again, I just want to make sure you guys understand that there was no O sounds, there was no oo sounds, there was no U sounds. But I don't make it a big deal over here, just long as no one try to tell me that I'm wrong or try to insult anyone that's on this platform. If you choose to say Yahuwah, that's on you. If you choose to say Yahweh, that's on you. It's not a deal breaker over here, but just respect the platform here. So I'm not one of those guys that will ridicule people who look, we all are on this path to getting things right. At one time I was not saying any name. I was just saying God and Father. I wasn't even saying Yah. But anyway, thank the Most High for salvation. So no need to apologize. Privacy. No need to apologize. We're getting there. So we're getting there. So, but again, that's part of the process of the Most High cleaning out the language to make sure that Zephaniah chapter 3, that prophecy be fulfilled. So the language is being cleansed. It is being sifted, and many are starting to understand the true name Yahweh. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get back into it. So it says here, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. Come on, family. Are we not seeing this today? Are we not seeing our brothers and sisters that just in this awakening alone are being tossed to and fro? I mean, let's be real. Let's start with the location of Africa. You have some saying Africa is in not Africa, but Israel, saying that it's in West Africa. Some saying that it's in South Africa. Some is saying that it's in Ethiopia. I mean, some are also saying that it's in America, the United States, getting tossed to and from by every wind of doctrine. And I'm going to say this, family, let the holy text, let the scriptures be your primary source. When you allow that to be your primary source, you cannot go wrong. But right now we living in a day and time where our brothers and sisters are being tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. And as you see here, it says, but says will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust, not anything to do with the Holy Spirit, because many people will take their own lust and try to disguise it and say it's the Holy Spirit that's leading them. Like my grandmother would say, the devil is a liar. But after their own lust, they shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. In other words, they're steady going from place to place, place to place, place to place, jumping from channel to channel. Now in the church, when I was still in Christianity, we called them church hoppers. You know what I mean? I called them recycled saints, going from place to place, place to place, place to place. And you see that same spirit in this awakening. People are jumping from place to place and they are getting tossed to or fro because they have itching ears. All right. Verse 4. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth. Are we not seeing that? Turn their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables, muthos in the Greek, fables, invented stories. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. Let me say this again. But watch thou in all things, endure affliction, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. So again, Paul says, and shall be turned unto fables, right? This is a fable. Matter of fact, let me correct this real quick. Let me correct this slide real quick because I don't want to keep seeing that animation come in. But that image, that what you see on your screen is an image of a fable. But let me correct this slide real quick. If not, it's going to drive me crazy. But I keep seeing that animation that I should have corrected already. But let me correct it right now. All right. Make sure it doesn't float in again. Let me make sure this other one doesn't do it as well. All right. I got it done. Yeah, it was um I'm a perfectionist when it comes to presenting my doing my presentations. I like to have a certain order when it comes to presenting this information to you guys. All right. So, and shall be turned unto fables. All right. Turned unto fables. The Greek word is muthos here. So let's go to it. It says here, muthos, a tale, fiction, in other words, myth, and invention. Well, guess what? Christmas, Santa Claus is an invention. St. Patrick's Day is an invention. Valentine's Day is an invention. Thanksgiving, invention. Like I say, Easter, invention. Truth be told, the whole so-called Holy Communion, invention. The Messiah wasn't celebrating Holy Communion. He wasn't celebrating the Eucharist. He was honoring Pasach, which was once a year, not a monthly thing. So that's an invention. Falsehoods. So there's so many different types of different layers of falsehoods that that's why the scripture says that the elect, in other words, Israel, those that are living righteous, right? It says going to barely make it. Israel's barely going to make it, family. So let's go and continue here. All right. So muthos, remember, muthos, a tale, an example, fiction, a myth, an invention, falsehood. So again, a fable is an invented story, a falsehood. So even as Paul wrote these warnings, some false teachings had already seeped into the assembly. Not a single follower of the Messiah, let me make this clear, not a single follower of the Messiah should ever celebrate Valentine's Day. Regardless, if you say that you following Christ, regardless of your ethnicity, guess what? You should not be celebrating none of these man-made holidays. You should not be celebrating Valentine's Day. And guess what? Especially the Negro. Especially the Negro. Let me say that again. Especially the Negro. Now, I'm gonna play this video and I'm going to talk about it as I play it or put it on the screen for you guys, right? And I want you guys to pay attention to the imagery. All right. If you haven't watched the video, default video on my channel is titled Road to Savannah. I encourage you guys to watch that. There's so much historical information in there, but one of them is this video here. Now, I want y'all to see here. Let me pause it real quick. Right. So I want you guys to pay attention. Right. And this is going to tie into with the Negro experience, what he has posted on his thumbnail for his profile picture. All right. So I want y'all to pay attention to this. And you may hear a little music in the background while I elaborate on this. That's fine. So let's go ahead and do it here. All right. So notice the cards. Let me pause it right here. Matter of fact, let me go back a little bit. Good thing about it, I can control this a little bit. I want you guys to pay attention to the cards. Right? Look at the cards. These are Valentine's Day cards. These are Valentine's Day cards. And there's a reason why you see this pot here, because of how they depicted our people to be barbarians, cannibals, right? Two heads are better than one. Let's get together Valentine. See, these are different cards. All right. So let me go ahead and play it, but I just want you to pay attention to the imagery here. And again, not a single Negro should be celebrating should be celebrating Valentine's Day. Not a single Negro. So let me go ahead and play. All right, let me pause it right here. See right here, I'm in stew over you. Be my Valentine. Notice the baby being inside a pot. Notice here in a situation like this, right? Look at how they're depicting our people, expressing love for one and for each other, for themselves. All right, let me pause it here. You see this one here? Whose honey is you? Tell me a quick before I faint. Right? These are all blackface, and I want y'all to understand who was who was the spearheads, who was right in front, who really benefited from the blackface. They were the most popular entertainers. They were from the Jewish community. That is a fact. Right? Starting with that old play called Mammy. I think his name was Alfred Jolston or something like that. You know, I can't remember his name off the top, but he was a Ashkenazi Jew, and he was they call him the greatest entertainer in the world at that time. All right, so let me go ahead and continue here. All right, now let me pause it right here. Now, notice what you see on your screen here. Let me zoom it in so you guys can understand what you see. 10 Little Niggers by Agatha Christie. Right? This is the original title of that book. And this is one of the, if not the greatest selling book ever. I think it sold something like 2 to 300 million copies. Right? It holds the world record for them, the books being sold, a novel being sold. But that's the original name of it, 10 Little Niggers. All right. And next to it, you see another one, because this was a popular title back at during that period, you know, not too long ago. Notice this one, The 10 Little Niggers. Right. These are children books. And notice this one right here. The Game of 10 Little Niggers by Parker Brothers. Guess what? This was the black version, per se, of Monopoly. Yes, family. This is Monopoly. This was Monopoly. This is you won't see this game of Monopoly, but this is actually a game of Monopoly right here during the Depression. This is what they were playing with. The Game of 10 Little Niggers. And I want to make sure you guys understand this and share this. Share this. I don't mind you slicing up this video. Share this. All right. So this was popular. That 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. Actually, that's not the proper lyrics. It's 1 little, 10, 2 little, 3 little niggers or nigger boys. That's how they were teaching their children how to count. All right. So let's go ahead and continue. Let me place. Now, let me pause it right here. Be my Valentines. All right. This is what I was pointing to in the thumbnail of the Negro Experience for what they have posted in their thumbnail. So I want to make sure that you guys see that. Let me zoom it in so that way you guys can see it clear image of it close up. Be my Valentine. Notice a noose, and this is actually a string that they, have the card. It's like a 3D card. Okay. All right. All right. So these are some of the cards that you saw. These are some of the cards that you saw. And yet our brothers and sisters are going to still celebrate this pagan holiday that they use to mock our brothers and sisters, our ancestors. I didn't know that Negro experience. I didn't know you got it from a post that I made years ago, but all praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. Look at this, family. All right. Someone saying something is happening in the chat. I'll just say I know that this tool has been acting quirky, especially when I teach on certain topics. So I would just say, moderators, if anyone is acting crazy in the chat, make sure, hey, give them a warning. If not, remove him. All right. But, as you see here, family, or if they just trolling, you know how to do it. All right. So as you see here, these are some of the images. I'm going to zoom in here so that way you guys can get a close up. I got plenty more images. All right, as you can see here, I'm in a stew over you. Look at this. As I say, this 3D image here with the rope. Be my Valentine. I'll be hanged if you is going to say no. And notice the if you want to call it broken English, so to speak, the slang that they're mocking how we would talk. Look at the image here. Look at the bow legs. Look at the pink lips. All of this is the imagery of the stereotypes of us at that time. The beady eyes, right? The big lips, pink lips. This is all how they portrayed us back at that time. It's all, notice this one right here. It beats all how much I like you, Valentine. And there's the same stereotypes. The red lips, the big red lips, the small beady eyes. All right. I have more I can share, but I'm not going to do it tonight. All right. And it was a Jewish company that spearheaded making these cards, even made up the 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Nigger boy books. Right. This little piggy went to the market, all of that, man, that's actually niggers. That's what it actually say, not piggies. It says niggers. This little nigger went to the market. This little nigger stayed home. That's the actual song or the rhyme. All right. But let's go to get in here. Let's go into some of this geeky mode stuff here. All right. The origin of the fable Valentine's Day. All right. The origin of the fable Valentine's Day. And I tell you guys, let me go back here because when I see, this is why I get up. It made me feel some kind of way, seeing, for example, this particular rabbi say what he said about people with black complexion, right? Going to be excluded in the world to come, because it makes me think about these things that the entire world was plotting that enslaved us to basically keep us in a certain position and have them over in an authoritative role or authoritative position over us.
We're finishing now part 2, chapter 2. And what we've said so far is that people have free will and their actions are, some are good and some are evil. And by the way, the Rambam writes explicitly that everyone has some good actions and some bad actions. Everyone. Everyone. And he takes it for granted that there'll be a variety. And we talked about the fact that this world and the next world are asymmetrical. The next world is where the majority of a person's actions, which determine his identity, are compensated. For the righteous, they exist in the world to come and they're rewarded. And for those whose major complexion is black, are excluded from the world to come.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
And unfortunately, a handful of our brothers and sisters were trying to defend this guy by saying, hey, he said complexion. Wait a minute. Complexion is referring to skin. He said your major complexion is black. He's not dealing with spirit. He's not dealing with hair texture. He's not dealing with an outfit. He's not dealing with none of that stuff. This is dealing with an actual skin complexion. You never said, hey, those the skin complexion of those shoes or the complexion of those shoes. Man, I like the complexion of those shoes, those black shoes. That's a nice complexion. Or you know what? Look at the complexion of that car. I like that black complexion. Come on, family. Let's stop with trying to be so deep and letting the Stockholm syndrome come out. No, he meant exactly what he meant. All right. But anyway, the origins of the fable Valentine's Day. Now, you guys remember this. If you guys remember this on your screen, type 1. Do you remember this here? Do you guys remember this? I like you. Do you like me? Yes or no? Do you guys remember this? Type 1 if you remember this. You know, I know things are so fast paced nowadays with the young people. You know, back in the day, this was the love notes that we used to send around. You know, I remember I sent my first love note and got embarrassed in homeroom, right? It was bad, you know. But anyway, you guys remember this. Let's give some shout outs as I do this. Sister Joy said she remembered this. Peacemaker said he remembered this. Let's see here. Rachel Moreland remember this. Robert Johnson remember this. Bass Reeves remember this. Let's see here. Positive Queen on Purpose remember this. Blackjack holding it down remember this. Quataza, let me see. Quatazaya Yashara Al remember this. And Focus remember this. And Focus to see, excuse me. Remember this. Thank you for the love and support and focus. Let's see who else remember this. Kev Markle, remember this. Shout out to you. Really appreciate you tuning in tonight. I Am Peace, remember this. Who else remember this? Let's see here. Eva, I remember similar images on okay, you still the images on the Valentine's Day cards. Okay, I got you. All right. Laura Winslow, excuse me. Sister Laura Winslow, you remember this. Let's give a few more. We're gonna give some additional shout outs here. Let's see here. I know the chat's starting to pick up here. Let's get a couple more in here, then we get back into it. Shannon Cradle, remember this, or Crandall's. Let's see here. Emma Horton, remember this. Let's see here. Arise, shine. Yeah, that's why I see you laughing. Yeah, you done received a couple of these or probably given them out. Hey, we all have, you know, when we were younger. You know, my first one, I gave it to a girl named Sophia in homeroom. Got pumped up by my friend. I thought was my friend. His nickname was Milk. Never forget, Derek Smith. I remember he said, hey, Sophia, I think she liked you. And me and Sophia was just cool. You know, and my freshman year, I was like the shortest freshman, literally. I thought I had like the Gary Coleman syndrome, man. I thought I wasn't going to grow. All right. But anyway, he said, hey, man, go ahead. And I think Sophia like you. And Sophia was, one of those girls in high school that looked grown. Growing up, you didn't have a lot of what you see today. You only had a handful of girls looking grown back then. So what I did was I went to the school store, got a pack of Starburst, and wrote this same letter right here. Do you like me? I like you. Mark yes or no. Man, not only did she answer, man, she said, she read it in front of the whole class, got loud on me. Do I like you? Mark yes or no. She was like, I'm going to say no. And she wrote a mark in it, not no, but bleep no. Right. I was like, and I mean, she was like, embarrassed me. So, and this was at the beginning of the day, homeroom. Man, that followed me for a while. You know what I mean? The way she embarrassed me. But I'll just say the Most High have a great way. He have a great sense of humor, how he brought that back, back on her. I'll leave that alone. But anyway, family. So we all remember this, right? But let me show you the origins of this love note, right? The original Valentine's Day in the Ides of February was Rome's Lupercalia, a festival of sexual license. Young men chose partners for erotic games by drawing billets, small papers with women's names on them. Christians denounced these prototypical Valentines as heathens' lewd customs. Churchmen tried to substitute saints' names. Doesn't that sound like the church? Always trying to substitute, trunk or treat, or whatever you want to call it, trunk or treat, whatever, trying to come up with ideas to still celebrate certain things, but just put another name on it. But nevertheless, churchmen tried to substitute saint names and short sermons on the billets, but people soon reverted to the old love notes. February was sacred to Juno Februata, right? So this month that you call February, it's no coincidence that you see Valentine's Day in this month, because February is known as the month of febris, the month of love, lusting. So February was sacred unto Juno Februata, in other words, goddess of fever, febris of love. Go figure. This is like when you start understanding the things that these cultures would do, especially when you start getting closer to the spring equinox. They start getting into those sexual rituals. All right. But anyway, I'm not going to get into all that right now. But it says here the church replaced her with a mythical martyr, Saint Valentine, who was endowed with several contradictory biographies. One of them made him a handsome Roman youth. Right. And we'll go back to that in a second. But this is coming from the history website, the history of the fable of Valentine's Day. Notice what it says here. Although the truth behind the Valentine legend is murky, the stories all emphasize his appeal as a sympathetic, heroic, and heroic, and most importantly, romantic figure. By the Middle Ages, perhaps thanks to this reputation, Valentine would become one of the most popular saints in England and France. All right. So it's interesting, right? And it's not a coincidence how most of the holidays has an extreme story about a Catholic so-called saint. Have you noticed that, family, that when you start dealing with these so-called church holidays, there's a Catholic saint, a fabricated story that they made up for it to put a face on their celebrations. All right. So again, and here's some examples, right? You have Christmas, St. Nicholas. Now, this is the original image of Santa Claus, which is Odin. This is the original image of Santa Claus. At one time, Santa Claus or celebrating Christmas was illegal. It was against the law. But that's the original image of Santa Claus, which is Odin. Okay. So Christmas has St. Nicholas. St. Patrick's Day has who? St. Patrick. Coming up with some fabricated stories of how he, chased, got rid of snakes out of, what's that, Greenland or whatever. Well, family, if you understand even just the geographical location and the elevation of that territory, snakes couldn't even make it that high. It's too cold. Who did they eradicate? Guess what? It was the Twa people. St. Patrick's Day is celebrating a genocide. They murdered those people. This is where you get the word leprechaun from. This is where you get gnomes from. This is where you get all of that from. It's from those, and I don't like to use the term pygmies and some of the terms the Europeans can come up with, but there was a short Negroid people that they literally committed genocide on. All right. But anyway, St. Patrick's Day, and we'll do a special lesson on that when St. Patrick's Day come up next month. So St. Patrick's Day, you have St. Patrick's, right? So let's deal with more history. Let's go back to this source here. More information on Valentine's Day. So one of them made him a handsome Roman youth, executed at the very moment when his sweetheart received his billet of love. St. Valentine became a patron of lovers perforce because the festival remained dedicated to lovers despite all official efforts to change it. Even in its Christianized form, the Valentinian festival involved secret sex worship. Now, have they stopped doing these secret sex worships? This is why we see all kinds of perversions going on in the church, right? That's why you see so many pastors succumbing to these sexual rituals. This is what you see happening because they start pumping and pushing this fever or feverish spirit. It's all perversions. They have sexual rituals going on in the church, going on in the Catholic Church, and they even have fallen angel rituals up in that started in the Catholic Church. That's a whole nother discussion. So secret sex worship called a rite of spiritual marriage with angels in a nuptial chamber, right? They also called it, again, now I just said it, I can't think of the name now. But they had, the fallen angel, like fallen angels ritual, sexual ritual. All right. But anyway, ordinary human beings engaged before witnesses in an act of sexual intercourse described as the marriage of Sophia and the Redeemer. Notice you see that word Redeemer, right? We're going to deal with that shortly, right? That's why I labeled this the bisexual Messiah for a reason. A spoken formula said in part, and these are some of this is basically the charm that they will read. I'm not going to read it here. Don't want to promote any of this stuff, but this is the song. This is the charm that they will read. But it goes on to say, during the Middle Ages, Saint Valentine was much invoked in love charms and posters. Since he was sketchily Christianized, versions such as love gods as Eros, Cupid, Kama, Priapus, or Pan. Now, Eros, right? That is a Greek word you see in the scriptures when they start trying to break down the 3 types or 4 types of love. We're not going to get into all of that, but Eros is one of the words. But notice as you see here, Eros, Cupid, Kama, Priapus, Pan, all of these guys they are interchangeable. It's just depending on what culture you're from, whether it's the Greek, whether it's the Romans, whether it's Hinduism, but these are all the same, right? Different names. But we're going to deal with Pan right now. I want you to make sure you guys understand who Pan is. We'll get to that in a second. All right. So again, remember that source that I shared, it said that St. Valentine's was much invoked in love charms and potions. So let's deal with the charms, right? This is what charms mean: incantation, magic charm, magic spell. All right. And as you see here, canary, to recite or recast, or excuse me, or cast a magic spell. Is it a coincidence, right? Because we see here canary. Is there a coincidence that during this time, this is where people want to get into all their slow songs and, playing all type of music that's going to what? Seduce, cast spells. That's all part of this ritual. Come on, family. Notice you see here, Carmen, right? Song, verse, enchantment. And Carmen was a popular opera. So to recite or cast a magic spell, to enchant, in other words, to fill someone with desire. So let's go to the Hebrew dictionary definition of this word charm. The primitive root word is chabar. And notice what it says: to join, specifically by means of spells, to fascinate. And guess what? We all been up under charms and spell casting. It's called deception, right? And had us reciting things that was actually our own demise. Reciting things like, hey, identity doesn't matter when you start waking up. Had us reciting scriptures or based upon their understanding, their interpretation of the text. Had us, many of us, believing in the Trinity. How many of you guys used to believe in the Trinity until you got proper clarity? And I want to make it clear. I believe in the Father, I believe in the Son, and I believe in the Spirit of Yahweh, right? Because the Holy Spirit, the real name is Rawak Yahweh, right? It's still Yah's Spirit, still Yah himself. But then you have his Son. It's not some triunity. That's what, it's not that. But that's what they did. They reciting what? Spells, charms, worshiping what? On Sundays. You're not thinking that you under a spell, you under a charm, you under what? Witchcraft of them bending and twisting the words by saying we're not under the law. So that's right, privacy. It's crazy when you think a charm is nothing more than an illusion. Okay, so you notice this on the left of your screen here. This is the original image of Pan. Disney took Pan, and have you noticed with Pan, right, on Disney, like Peter Pan, sounds like a kind of resemble a boy, but then again, sound like a girl. That's done strategically to make Peter Pan into what? A hermaphrodite. This is the original image of Pan. This is not the Peter Pan that you see, but this is the original image of Pan. So remember, it says he was a sketchily Christianized version of such love gods as Eros, Cupid, Priapus, or Pan. All right. So this is the actual image. But here's another image that you won't, that if you do more research on Pan, you'll understand Pan also promotes bestiality, right? Now, we all adults here, but this is one of the images that you'll come across, right? Let me go ahead and fast forward here. You guys already saw that. All right. Let me see here. Do I want to show this? Right. So this right here, right? Let me go back here and I'm going to pause. This right here is a rabbi teaching that Adam had intimacy with animals. He had sex with animals. So you see how Pan, and that's still pushing the spirit of Pan. That's still pushing the spirit of Eros. That's part of the spirit of Valentine's Day. Bisexual, transvestism, right? You also have bestiality, having intimacy or sex with animals, still part of the laws of sodomy, believe it or not. All of this is part of the laws of sodomy. But let's see what he has to say. Let's see what this rabbi say as he's teaching about Adam having sex with the animals. So let me play his video real quick. And unfortunately, many of our brothers and sisters are pushing this stuff in this awakening, the Talmud in this awakening. Let's see what he says.
Milamed, it teaches us that Adam not only named the animals, but he dated all the animals. But he was not able to be at peace with any of them until finally Chava was created.
Hashem didn't have a problem with that?
I mean, dated means, I'm trying to use a nice word.
What does dated means? What do you mean by dated?
Dated means he took her out to Pisgah.
Dated.
They went out to the Chosan. They had a little, Monte.
Relationship? Not relationship, just let's keep it rated PG.
We're going to keep it rated. We're going to keep it rated PG for the G for grandmas for this discussion. But that's what he did. It says he went out with the animals.
Come on, family. Come on, family. I know some of you guys are probably responding just like this. So we have to address, because you see he's reading from a book. So this rabbi is not making it up. Notice, do you guys see it? I know that the text is over it, but you see him holding up a book and he's reading from a book. He's reading from a book. He has a source that he is reading from. So let's see what source, one of the sources that he's reading from, right? So let's go to the Talmud. Yep, right? So let's see what it says. Yebamoth, right? It says here, 63a, notice what it says here. What is meant by the scriptural text? This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This teaches that Adam had intercourse with every beast and animal, but found no satisfaction until he cohabited with Eve. And this is, and I'm going to zoom it in. It's going to be a little dark for you guys, but this is what you see right here. This is the text. This is how, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. This teaches that Adam had intercourse with every beast and every animal, but found no satisfaction until he cohabited with Eve. And this is why they teach that call Adam a strange creature, because they basically put him there with the animals. And this is why they refer to us Negroes as strange creatures. Why? Because they teach that the actual humans, right, that we see today, modern humans, come through Seth, not directly from Adam. All right. So again, you see here, Adam had intercourse according to their other rabbinical literature, that Adam had intercourse with every beast and animal, but found no satisfaction. All right. So let's continue here. Who is Eros? Right? We're gonna deal with Cupid. We're gonna deal with all of these guys. It's still tie in with Pan, Priapus, and all of that. So who is Eros? Let's see who Eros is. Bisexual. Wait a minute. You see the word there? Bisexual. Greek deity of erotic love. Let me say that again. Eros is the bisexual Greek deity of erotic love. Identical with Hindu, Orphic said Eros was the first god to emerge from the womb of the primal creatress, Mother Night, right? Do you know Christmas Eve is actually called Mother Night? And we'll deal with that another time. But that's all tying into the worship of that tree, of whom even Zeus stands in awe. Now we're dealing with Greek Roman mythology, all right? In awe. Plato said Eros was the oldest of deities, the most worthy of honor, the one who gave souls strength to ascend to heaven after death. In short, Eros was a kind of savior. This is why I say, hey, when you're dealing with Valentine's Day, you are celebrating in the worship, right, of a bisexual Messiah, because we saw Redeemer early on. All right. So again, Eros was a bisexual Greek deity of erotic love, and he was a bisexual savior. So we all know what erotic means, all right, to sexually arouse. So now let's deal with Cupid. Still part of these same groups. Let's deal with Cupid, right? And as you see, it still tie in. All the names are interchangeable. These gods and deities, all of them are interchangeable. But we're going to, this will give us even more information. Roman name of the god of erotic love, Greek Eros, Hindu Kama. Cupid was the son of Venus and Mercury. Notice what it says here, Venus and Mercury. So in, in Greek, it would be Aphrodite and Hermes. But in Roman, among the Romans, Venus and Mercury. But notice what it says here. And was therefore a hermaphrodite, signifying sexual union. So hermaphrodite, right? Hermes plus Aphrodite together forms the word hermaphrodite. Okay, just so that way you guys understand that. Okay, so in Christian usage, the ancient significance of sexual desire was confused with desire for money. Just giving more clarity on here. So, but let's fast forward here, right? This is the point I want to highlight here. But in ancient talisman of Cupid, now this is going to mess some of you guys up, and not mess you up in the literal term, but kind of it's going to catch you by surprise, right? Cupid wasn't what you see up on the screen here originally. Wasn't a baby, so to speak, with wings, diaper, with a bow and arrow, right? Cupid, as you see here, they were winged phalli. In other words, the male reproductive organ of phallus of bronze, ivory, or wood. So instead of seeing a baby with wings, it was actually a male reproductive organ. Now, I'm making sure that I say it in a clean way, because I don't want to disrespect anyone on this channel. And I'm a pastor, so I want to make sure I put things in a way that we're not, taking this lightly, so to speak, and being disrespectful at the same time, trying to keep it clean. So the original Cupid was not a baby with wings on it. The original Cupid was a male reproductive organ with wings on it, as you see here in this information that I'm sharing with you. All right. So Cupid's arrow represents the spell or charm of lovesick. Have you guys ever heard of that term, lovesick? Because that's what Cupid represents, that arrow, right? Also, it is a satanic ritual, because in devil worshiping, right? They teach that eating the heart, right? You supposedly absorb the soul of that person. That's another thing that's associated with Valentine's Day. All right. In a nutshell, a prophet spoke against the king, a homosexual king, right? Not a prophet, but a preacher, a priest spoke against a homosexual king, the homosexual king, in response to that, as a penalty, locked him up, and then had him killed, and then took his heart and then wrapped it up and sent it to his daughter. So it's a lot of different things, but that's all satanic rituals. So Cupid's arrow represents the spell or charm of lovesick. All right. So I want you guys to make sure you understand. So when you see lovesick, and I'm not sure, have you guys heard of lovesick? Have you guys heard of that term lovesick? And if you're from the old school, you guys remember Gangstar, that was one of my favorite groups back in the day. Remember they had a song called Lovesick. Have you guys ever heard of that term, lovesick? If you have, type 1. All right. All right. So in focus to see, my apologies, said 1. So heard of that. Eva 1. Mr. The Original, shout outs 1. So Eva 1. So Pretty much it looks like you guys heard of this. Lisa Norwood, 1. All right. Linda J, 1. Drew Mills, 1. Heavy Fingers Record, 1. All right. Fifi, 1. All right. Privacy, 1. All right. So you guys have heard of this before, right? Aaron Gunn. And we're going to break down Curry. Let's see. Aaron Gunn, 1. One more. Let's see. Curry Form, 1. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Let's explain this. Lovesick. Well, what is lovesick? Let me give you the definition of what lovesick is. The Oxford Dictionary definition of lovesick. It means this: in love or missing the person one loves so much that one is unable to act normal. Let me read that again. In love or missing the person one loves so much that one is unable to act normally. That's what lovesick is, right? Now I think all of us at one time or another in our life, most of us experience lovesick, especially when you had that so-called first person that you had a crush on and they crushed you. You know what I mean? So that is lovesick. That is lovesick, that you were so wrapped up in someone that you began to do things that's out of character, right? Now, if we want to deal with lovesick of today, right? When you start getting caught up in this flesh, that's lovesick. Like David was lovesick, so lovesick that he killed another man to take his wife and was so blinded by it. That's lovesick, right? So much that one is unable to act normal. That's what happens in love or missing the person. So in love, many people have done some silly things. And actually, I'm not even going to call it love. I'm going to say in lust, right? Infatuation, foolish passion. Samson had a foolish passion for Philistine women. All right. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue here. So remember, lovesick, loving someone so much that you're not able to be normal. Right. So let me give you an example of lovesick. We're going to see this in the scripture. 2 Samuel chapter 13, starting at verse 1. I want to make sure you guys understand this because this is a powerful story here when we start dealing with, turmoil within David's house. And you can understand why Absalom was so upset with his father on how he handled the situation with his sister. So here it is. 2 Samuel chapter 13, starting at verse 1, it says, and it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister whose name was Tamar. And Ammon, the son of David, loved her, right? But we have to make sure we understand he was lovesick, right? Notice this. This is describing lovesick. And Ammon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister. Did y'all catch that? So he fell sick for his own sister. He is what? Caught up in now what? Lovesick. I want to make sure you guys understand. And that's right, Sister Audrey. This is why I'm bringing this up. Was it Sister Audrey? No, Sister Rachel. Right? This story is so disturbing. That's right. It's disturbing. And there's some other disturbing stories about how women got treated inside these scriptures. But this is a very disturbing story. How a brother raped his own sister. But notice here, Ammon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister, Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Ammon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. So that's all he was doing. He was stalking his sister. He was lusting. He was lovesick over his sister, wasn't functioning or doing normal things. So Ammon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister. And Tamar, right, or Thamar in the ancient Hebrew, was his half sister, but was the full sister of Absalom, right? Abba Shalom, right? Who had been born to David's wife, Ma'akah, the daughter of Talmai, who was the king of Geshur. But nevertheless, Tamar or Thamar was his sister, right? Was his sister. Whether you say half or not, that's still his sister. Okay. And let's deal with this Hebrew word vex. All right. Yatzar or Yatzar, but it means to press. An example, narrow, be in distress. So he was so narrow minded. Lovesick had him so narrow minded, so tunnel vision. All he can think was about his sister, wanting to be intimate with his own sister, right? And when we look at sick here, all right, kala, to be rubbed or worn, to be weak, afflicted, to grieve, make sick, disease. So this is a disease, a mental disease, a spiritual disease. Be weak, become weak, be wounded, right? And again, diseased, become diseased. He had a disease, he had a mental issue. So Ammon became lovesick over his own sister Thamar or Tamar. So Ammon, Wan or Amanawan, became Yatzar or Yatzar. In other words, lovesick, became narrow-minded and besieged, which caused him to become diseased in his obsession for his sister. So Kala Wath, right? That's the plurality of it. So he had an ongoing obsession of his own sister. So Ammon lusted so much after Tamar that he became ill because he could not figure out a way to have her sexually. Why? Why was he so obsessed with his own sister? Well, because Tamar or Thamar was faithful to Yahweh, obeying his commandments and living a pure, righteous life. So Ammon, right? His cravings for Tamar was so despicable. They were reprehensible. His actions were reprehensible. So let's look at Ammon's name. This is what's interesting about his name. We see that his name means faithful, a son of David, right? That's interesting, right? That's what his name means, but we have to go to the primitive root word, which is Aman, to get a full understanding of what his name means. So Aman, right, transliterates to Amen, but Aman is the proper pronunciation, as you see here, Aman. It means to build up. It means to be firm, faithful. You see the word faith. You see the word trust. You see the word believe. You see the word permanent. And the key also to go to the right hand. But guess what? Ammon was consistent. He was faithful to his perversion. That's what's sad. He was faithful. See, all of us have faith. All of us have faith. But the question is, who is your faith grounded in? Who do you have faith in? Who do you have trust in? Whose right hand do you go to? Are you going to your flesh, this world, or are you going to the Father through his Son and embracing the Spirit of Yah? So who was Ammon's right hand? Guess what? His right hand man was his cousin. The evil schemes, the charms suggested by a friend and his cousin, Jonadab, was also despicable and reprehensible. So his own cousin helped him plot on his own sister. So let's skip down to verse 11. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, see, she thinking that he's sick. So she's coming out to help her brother, bringing some food to her brother. So her brother and her cousin was in on the scheme. And when she had brought unto him to eat, he took hold of her and said unto her, come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, nay, my brother. In other words, she told him, no, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. And it's interesting when you see this word akya, right? This is how you pronounce it in the ancient Hebrew, right? You see the alap, which is leadership, strength, right? teach, the very first letter. Then you see the kath, which means wall. It means a divide. See, to be a brother, there's certain boundaries we're not supposed to cross when it comes to dealing with our blood, our people. That yod at the end, right? It means redemption. It means salvation, outstretched arms. We're not supposed to cross certain barriers, certain lines. Let me zoom this in so you guys understand what I'm reading here or quoting. So this is the alap, this is the kaf, which means wall. So she's reminding him, hey, brother, you're not supposed to what? Cross this wall, cross this line. You're crossing a line that you should not be crossing. You're trying to do something that you should not be doing. You entertaining thoughts that you should have cast down. You should have cast down that perverted spirit, that lovesick spirit. And she answered him and said, nay, my brother, Yah, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. See, this is against the law. This is incest. Do not thou this folly. Verse 13, whither shall I cause my shame to go? Because he raped her. She's going to be embarrassed. Her reputation is going to be gone. And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now, therefore, I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Now, this is her way. Now, she knows this is her trying to get out of this situation because it's against the law for this to even happen. But she's trying to get him to think like, look, if you want me so bad, go to our father, the king. She was trying to diffuse the situation, but he wouldn't listen. Howbeit, he would not hearken unto her voice. He would not listen with intelligence. Hearken, shamai or shamai, means to listen with intelligence unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and lay with her. Family, this is why we got to make sure we talk to our women. We got to talk to our daughters to make sure our daughters are not being set up by other women. Because I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I lived in some of the worst areas. I lived in Harlem. I lived in Detroit. Guess what? You have to be careful. Teach your children not to get set up. Because growing up where I grew up, you had girls setting up other girls out of jealousy, getting them turned out. So she being set up and didn't have a clue that she was being set up by her own relatives, from her own people. Family, be honest with your children, especially you got girls. Do you know in this country, almost 500,000 people are kidnapped every year? And out of the almost 500,000 people that's kidnapped every year, 40% of them are the sisters from our community. So the sisters represent like 6% of the overall population, 6%. But yet 40% of all disappearance, kidnappings come from the women in our community. Come on, family. We need to make sure we properly educate our women and protect our women. I let the women know in our ministry. I let them know. If you need to put gas in your car at night, coming from our service, we'll have one of the ministers escort you to make sure that you're safe and put the gas in your car for you. If you, during the day, if you need to put gas in your car, go to a lit area. Be careful on who approach you. Make sure you pay attention to your surroundings. Come on, family. We gotta protect our women. Anyway, so let's continue here. So then notice what this says here, family. This is what's so sad. Howbeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she. And again, women, I know that many of you guys are very athletic, but guess what, family? A woman cannot overpower a man, especially possess. You don't have the physical know how to do or not know how, or the physical strength to do. This is why now they're trying to come up with laws so that way these pronoun guys that are saying that they're now women, they're making it so that way they can't participate in women's sports, rightfully so. But he forced her and lay with her. Notice this in verse 15. Notice how he flipped on her. And Ammon hated Shana'ah, hated her exceedingly. So after he got what he wanted, doesn't this sound like things that are happening in our community right now? Doesn't this sound like what's happening in our community right now? How so many of our women are being lied to just to be so guys can get their what they want. And guess what, family? You got women doing the same thing too now to women, seducing women. So you better teach your daughters, don't trust none of these guys, and don't trust your girlfriends too. That's supposed to be your best friend. You got girls that are pretending to be best friends, to be in a certain position, waiting for your daughter to have a moment of hurt so they can kind of be in their ear. Nah, family, like my grandmother would say, the devil is a liar. All right. But anyway, so he was so lovesick over her. Now his foolish passion now went in the opposite direction. He went from being so infatuated with her, being so lovesick over her, couldn't function over her. Now he hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. So wait a minute. So now his desire, right, to hate her was more stronger than the lovesick. Now he's treating her. And doesn't this sound familiar? Come on. I know, and I know I don't want none of you guys to have to relive some of this, but I know some of you women on here that's watching. This sounds familiar. You've been through this before. Once the guy got what they wanted, they flipped the script on you. Some of you guys got pregnant by way of these knuckleheads, and they flipped the script on you. Then Ammon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. And Ammon said unto her, arise, be gone. Be gone. Man kicked her out, said, get up, get out of here, after he got what he wanted. The incest committed by the crown prince Ammon was abominable, right? It led him to rape his own sister Tamar or Thamar. So Tamar immediately, like when he tried to make his advances, Tamar immediately shouted out either no or don't do this or do not several times. In struggling to resist his lustful advances, she made 4 appeals to him. Here's the appeals. She reminded him that rape is a crime. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. Deuteronomy 24. Don't let these knuckleheads convince you that rape, hey, you get it's marriage. No, She reminded him that rape is a crime and that such a thing should not be done in Israel. She appealed to his conscience, right? She made attempts to appeal to his conscience, emphasizing that rape was a wicked evil. She begged him to think about their reputations, because that's one of the things, especially when you so consumed with your flesh, you don't stop to think about the repercussions, that there's consequences and repercussions because of the acts, your actions. See, we all been out there in that world, and guess what? Let's try not to make it seem like we had a miserable life. Let's not try to make it seem like we had a miserable time. No, all of us enjoy being out in that world, but it's the consequences that you didn't anticipate. You didn't anticipate the consequences was going to be so heavy. There was going to be so a big price to pay. The turmoil that came with the territory, the strongholds that came with the territory. Come on, can we be real up in here? That's what drove you guys to the Most High, because you didn't know that, man, that chasing those things of the world was going to put you in a place that many of you guys got suicidal. Many of you guys are ready to check out because you didn't think about the long-term effects of it. She begged him to think of their reputations. She would be disgraced, and his reputation would be ruined, for the people would look upon him as a wicked fool. Last one, she appealed for him to control his urges and to ask permission to marry her if he was burning with lust. So, like I said, that was her way of trying to get out, because it's against the law to marry your own sister. All right, it's in Leviticus. I think it's Leviticus 19, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. All right, let's see here. All right, let's pull it up here. Leviticus. I thought it was Leviticus 19. Let me pull it up here. All right. Let me see here. All right. That would be actually scripture before it, 18. Leviticus 18. All right. Gives you some information on the nakedness. Gives you some information on that. All right. And this gives you more clarity. This chapter gives you clarity of exactly what Ham did to his mother. Ham saw the nakedness of his father, which is his mother, right? That's the proper understanding of the text. So I'll read it real quick. Let me see here. It says, none of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahweh. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother, thou shalt not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife thou shalt not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. So guess what? That gives you proper clarity on exactly what the nakedness of thy father is. So make sure you guys understand it. When you go back and you read the story about Noah and why he cursed his grandson, because that will tell you that Noah's son Ham had an inappropriate relationship with his mother and produced Ham out of incest. So that's why Ham or Canaan was cursed by Noah. All right. So you'll see the nakedness of thy father in the text. This explains that. All right. And I know this is probably brand new for some of you guys, but I just want to give you clarity on that as we get ready to wrap up. Let's look up this word hate, shana. Let's see what shana means, right? It says here, right? In Israeli Saneh, or excuse me, yeah, Saneh. This right here, instead of a sheen, it'd be a scene. So it's Saneh, Saray here. But anyway, this is the Israeli, but in ancient Hebrew, it'd be Sana, or yeah, I just said it, Sana, not any other way. Shana, rather, not Sana. It'd be Shana. There's no, there's only one pronunciation for the shan. But anyway, so it says here to hate, enemy, foe, hateful. So now this went from his being his most loving, in his mind, the lovesick sister. He was over heels over his sister. He supposedly loved her so much. Now she's his enemy. Now basically, in a nutshell, he putting the blame on her. Once he had committed this reprehensible evil, his emotions immediately turned from attraction to hatred. Now, Ammon saw his sister as his enemy. In other words, want to make her feel guilty for his terrible decision, because he couldn't keep his flesh under submission. Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. So we have to make sure when we see this story right here, man, this is part of that spirit of Valentine's Day, that lovesick, being under a charm, a spell, that arrow, right? But anyway, so let's deal with Cupid, right? Because you see, Cupid is the name that we saw, right? Cupidity. Let's see what cupidity means. This is cupidity, eager desire to possess something. So Cupid, basically, the name Cupid means eager desire to possess something, passionate desire, lust, ambition. So this is all dealing with flesh. And this comes from the, as you see here, the Proto-Indo-European root word, cupi or cupi, right? Which means to desire, okay? To boil over, going back to what I pointed out, lovesick, okay? So cupidity means passionate desire. It means lust. But check this out. Ammon allowed his lovesick, that we could call cupidity, because that's all Cupid name basically means in its simplest form, lovesick, the spirit of lovesick, the spirit of having people behave certain ways out of the norm, getting into this bisexual, all this other stuff that goes with it. So Ammon allowed his lovesick, which is called cupidity, in other words, passionate desire and lust, lead him to stupidity. All right. So he let the spirit of cupidity lead him to stupidity. He did some dumb things. This is the spirit of Valentine's Day. Lovesick, the bisexual Messiah. All right. Last thing I want to point out here, real quick, but the Talmud promotes the spirit of bisexual of the bisexual Messiah. It promotes this, the spirit of bisexual. Why? Because the Talmud promotes and teach that Adam is a bisexual, teach that Adam is a hermaphrodite, right? So let me show you this here. Let's see what their other rabbinical literatures say. You guys, some of you guys remember this part. I teach this periodically in some of the other teachings. Barakah 61a. Look at what it says, right? And this is dealing with Adam, right? So here it says, and the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, made he a woman. Sam and Samuel explained this differently. One said that the rib was a face. The other said it was a tail. No objections can be raised against the one who says it was a face. All right. But we're going to see the source, right? Because the Talmud, you'll see they're pulling from the Gemara, the Mishnah, and all that. So we're going to go to the source. Let's go to the source. All right. As this is further explaining, basically saying the same thing. But let's go to the Midrash. Let's go to the Midrash. I said the Mishnah, but let's go to the Midrash. Let's see what the Midrash say about Adam and Eve. Notice what it says here. Matter of fact, I'm going to read the highlighted text. When the Holy One, blessed be he, created Adam, he created him an hermaphrodite, bisexual. Now, do you guys see that clear on your screen? You see that on your screen. You see that on your screen. And many of our brothers and sisters are leading our brothers and sisters into this foolishness right here. They are teaching Judaism. They are teaching Talmudic doctrine on our brothers and sisters. And any one of you guys that see or hear anyone trying to push the Talmud, teachings of the Talmud, right, versus exposing what's in there, you guys should immediately, literally have this type of alert. This should come on your spirit.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
All right, so you see it on your screen. Let me read it. When the Holy One, blessed be he, created Adam, He created him an hermaphrodite, in other words, bisexual. For it is said, male and female created he them and called their name Adam. All right. And they even go as far as saying that he had a double face, two faces, right? Some within that community, some of their writings teach that he had a tail. All right, not getting into all of that, but that's what you see right here. He created him an hermaphrodite. In other words, bisexual. Okay, so the Talmud and their midrash promotes bisexuality. And when we deal with it in hermaphrodite, let's deal with that real quick. It starts with understanding Hermes, right? Hermes, Greek god of magic, letters, medicine, and occult wisdom, identified with Thoth in Egypt, Mercury in Rome. He was really older than Greece and one of the Aegean or great mother's primal serpent consorts, partaking of her wisdom because he was once a partner of her, like India's, I'm not going to butcher that name here, Kali and Shiva, united in one body with Aphrodite. Priest of Hermes. Now, notice this here. Now you get into transvestism because you had the men at Aphrodite's temple, right? The priests of Hermes wore artificial breasts and female garments to preside over Aphrodite's Cyprian temple in guise of the god Hermaphroditus. In other words, being both being bisexual, having male and female reproductive organs. This is the spirit of transvestism. So priests of Hermes wore artificial breasts and female garments. So they were cross-dressing. Man, it's a lot more when you start studying about Corinth. This is why Paul wrote to Timothy. He wasn't giving him a commandment. Paul was giving him his advice when he said, I would not allow, if I were in, here, if I were you, I would make sure that the women does not usurp authority over the men, right? Why? Because Aphrodite's temple in Corinth, the women dominated the whole territory. Now, Paul was not saying that, from a perspective like a male chauvinistic perspective. No, he was saying because he was telling them not for the women not to have outbursts in the services, because Aphrodite's temple, the women ran stuff, even though you had men cross-dressers, but it was the women. And that was part of the culture. Women can outburst. No, he said, if she have a question, say it to the husband and let him present the question when you go into the deeper studies of that. This is why he said, hey, not to braid their hair, right? But he's really saying not to have their hair in the same styles of the women that's at Aphrodite's temple. But Paul is giving his advice. He said, I were you. In other words, he's saying, in my words, I would not have these things go on. Why? He was wanting to make sure that there is a separation between the assembly of Corinth. And when you start studying Ephesus, they worship Diana, they worship Aphrodite. Anyway, so I just want to give a little information on that. All right. So the Midrash and Talmud teach Adam was a cross-dresser, Hermes, right? The Talmud and their Midrash promotes the worship of Hermes, as I pointed out, right? This is what we already highlighted here, but let's deal with Aphrodite. We dealt with Hermes. Let's deal with Aphrodite real quick as we wrap up. Aphrodite, often dismissed as a Greek goddess of love. Notice you still see that goddess of love. Aphrodite was really much more than that. Like Kali, notice what this says. She was a virgin mother crone. This is the triple goddess. This is where you get the Trinity from. This is where Tertullian got the concept of Trinity. When you see virgin mother crone, right? If you look at the triple witches, right, you'll see the young damsel, right? And then in the middle, you'll see the mother. She'll have a hand over her belly, over her womb, right? Her Delphi, right? Her stomach. And then you will see the hag, which is also referred to crone. And hag is not a word of insult in these communities, right? The Etruscans and the Greeks and all that. So this is where the Trinity comes from. This is where the concept came from. And Tertullian, who was raised in a basically a pagan home, he brought these ideas and pushed that idea, that concept. This is why we have to be careful of concepts. So she was once indistinguishable from the fates. Her old name was Moira. Excuse me for butchering her name. And she was said to be older than time. So this is just giving you more information on the Greek, the Roman, uh, or actually the Greek mythology. Actually, it's both Greek and Roman. I'm not just going to say Greek, but the Romans have their deities that's basically the same. She was not only Greek, she was the Dea Syria, also known as Asherah, Astarte. So when you start getting into Asherah, Astarte, all of this is still tying in. The Babylonians worship Asherah, Astarte, Asherah, the groves, right? And you see the Greeks got their religion basically from the Babylonians. But anyway, goddess of the oldest continuously occupied temple in the world. She was the ancestral mother of the Romans, for she gave birth to the founding fathers, Ennius. All right. But anyway, let's see here. Venice called Queen of the Sea after the goddess herself, right? Paying homage to who? Aphrodite. One of Aphrodite's major centers of worship was the city of Paphos in Cyprus, on Cyprus, excuse me, the island named for its copper mines. Thus, she was called the Cyprian or Paphian, and her sacred metal was copper. She was also called Mari the Sea, and the Egyptians referred to her island as I Mari. So during the Christian era, Aphrodite's temple on Cyprus was converted into a sanctuary of the Virgin Mary. So this is why you see a lot of these images that you see today. It's because instead of tearing down these temples, right, many of those converts, they took those Aphrodite temples and they made it into their place of worship. All right. So I want to make sure you guys understand this here. That's why you see these statues in many of these cathedrals. It stems from this. All right. The worship of Aphrodite and Hermes. Okay. So again, Hermes had the priests of Hermes were cross dressers, right? They were men dressing like women. All right. So going on here, it says one of Aphrodite's greatest shrines in Asia Minor was the city of Aphrodisias, once dedicated to Ishtar, right? Ishtar, this is where you get Easter, right? Up to the 12th century AD. When the city was taken by Seljuk Turks, the goddess was worshipped. And Turks, remember, we talked about the Arabic invasion, the Ottoman invasion. So what we see today, these are Turks. What we see in these Arab countries, they are actually Turks. But anyway, so the goddess was worshipped there as the patron of arts, letter, crafts, and culture. But let's skip down here. The calendar still keeps the name of Aphrodite on the month dedicated to her, which is April. April is the month that is dedicated to her. Go figure, right? This is the same month when we what? Honor Pasach. So when you say April, right? Guess what? That's paying that not saying that you guys are doing it intentionally, not saying any of us, but the month of April, the name April, that name is paying homage to Aphrodite. All right. The ancient calendar, no, I ain't gonna get into all that. So the calendar still keeps the name of Aphrodite on the month dedicated to her. April, Aphrilis, the ancient calendar of Romulus said this was the month of Venus. All right. So this is the original, and this is going to be interesting here, right? This is the original Aphrodite image. To the right is, a modern. And if you see here, you'll see the image. Look at the nose, look at the mouth, look at the lips, right? This is actually, like we see the Black Madonna, right? This is a Black Aphrodite or Diana. Yes, the Romans and the Greeks, their goddess, Aphrodite, was a dark melanated woman. Right? They won't show you this original image. They'll show you the one on the right, but either way, it's still pagan worship. So I want to make sure you guys understand. So let me zoom in again to make sure you guys understand. This is the original. This is basically a forgery. And you see the difference between the lips. You see the difference between the nose. You see the difference between just the features. And these are breasts. That's right. These are breasts. All right. But not promoting the worship of this stuff, but just want to give you history. So the Talmud and their midrash promotes the worship of Aphrodite, as we just proved. The Talmud teach that Adam was a hermaphrodite, as we just proved. The Talmud teach that Adam was bisexual, which we just proved. And lastly, that dancing heart that you see Cupid, part of that ritual, guess where it comes from? You guys ever wonder where that dancing heart comes from? If you guys wonder where that dancing heart comes from, type 1. Have you guys seen that heart? Have you guys ever wondered what's that heart? Right? Because it's called the dancing heart. Have you guys ever wondered where did it come from? What is it? Type 1 if you have. If you want to know what that really represents. And I'm gonna give you some information here. In focus to see. Didn't know but want to know. Not sure what it is. Privacy, want to know. Not sure. Simo, not sure. Brother Enoch, not sure. Sister Joy, familiar with it. Natana, or Natanya, excuse me. Not familiar with it. Let's see here. Who else before we reveal it? Ka Tazaya, haven't want to know, haven't heard it, not sure the meaning. Stacy Pullum, not sure the meaning. Bas Reeves, as well as Malak Bat Yisrael. All right, just giving some shout outs here. LaRonda Thomas, appreciate you, sis, for the love and support. Barbara, let's see here. Let's see who else we have. I thought I saw Barbara Devins. All right. Now, let's go ahead and give the answer. Let's explain this real quick, and we're going to wrap up on this because we pushed 2 hours. All right. What is the significance of the heart? What is the origins of the Sacred Heart? The heart, Ab, was the Egyptian word for the heart, soul. Let me say that again. Ab was the Egyptian word for heart, soul. Most important of the 7 souls bestowed by the 7 birth goddesses, in other words, Hathors, right? So all of this points back to Egypt. That dancing heart on that Caesar Borgia, that comes from Egypt. So the Ab was the soul that would be weighed in the balances of Ma'at after death in her underground hall of judgment to see if it was too heavy with sins to balance her feather of truth. The Ab was most important because it was the central blood emanating from the essence of the mother. The maxim that a pregnant woman carries her child under her heart began with the Egyptians, who believed menstrual blood that made the child's life descended from the mother's heart to her womb. The maternal heart then was the source of the child's life, which was why a mother called her child heart's blood. The Book of the Dead addresses prayers to my heart of my mother, my heart of transformations, meaning the source of rebirth. So the Egyptian hieroglyph signs for Ab was a dancing figure, and as verb, it meant to dance. This referred to the mystic dance of life going on inside the body, the heartbeat. The same mystic symbol in India was the dance of Shiva, who was supposed to dwell at the beating heart of the cosmos within the world body of Kali. All right. So we're going to stop right there, family. Really appreciate you guys. I know I gave you a lot of information. And so we'll deal with that. I see the question here to break down Deuteronomy 22 and 8. I'll do that in a separate teaching because I have a full teaching on Deuteronomy 22. And I just it's getting kind of late here. Been going for 2 hours, and my voice is really my voice is I'm losing my voice. So I'll do a special teaching on Deuteronomy 22, and and we'll deal with this text here. All right. And I think you said verse 8. So I'll make a note of it, and we'll do a special lesson on this. All right. But really appreciate the questions. But family, I hope that this helps you, and I encourage you guys to go back over the lesson, take your notes, use this as an opportunity to discuss this. All right. Use this as an opportunity to discuss this with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends. And I can guarantee you that they will be surprised at what's being revealed or what you're revealed to them. All right. So again, Valentine's Day is all about celebrating a bisexual Messiah. So with that being said, family, hope all is well with you guys. And I pray that you guys, I know we're on the eve of the Shabbat. Have a blessed day. If you're not subscribed to the We Are Woke Now channel, do so. And we'll be having our weekly Shabbat services over there. We Woke Now Extended. So with that being said, in the words of Yahweh, in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, in the words of Yahweh, the words that he gave to Moses to give to Israel, because Israel was on the fence. They was ready to go back to Egypt, right? They was ready to go back into bondage because they were facing what seemed to be a dead end. They had the Egyptians coming from the rear, wanting to kill some of them and take them back into bondage, right? But they had the water in front of them, a dead end. So these are the words that the Most High gave Moses to encourage them. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, in other words, these strongholds that you see, whatever it may be, would not have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. We as a people have to learn how to hold our peace. The Hebrew word there is charash, not shalom, not shalom, not shalom. It's charash, which means be quiet. Guess what, family? Calculated silence. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.